AARP and the Ad Council.
Just because you're away from your radio or out of our broadcast range doesn't mean you have to miss out. Listen live on the WDEV stream, brought to you by AARP Vermont. WDEV's morning, midday, and afternoon news services, Vermont Viewpoint, and the Brady Farkas Show can all be found on the WDEV stream at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by AARP Vermont, working to bring down the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. AARP.org/VT.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need 3 things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Book it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Happy full show Monday here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. No Red Sox baseball today. Sox take 2 of 3 from the Yankees. Sox finally win a series against an AL East opponent. Sox are 4.5 games out of a wild card still. We'll talk about Michael Wacha from last night. We'll talk about Rafael Devers and some of the news that our friend Buster Olney is making regarding a potential Devers contract negotiation. So we'll talk about all of that today. I won an award. That's right. I won an award. I'll tell you what that is just after 6 o'clock. And we'll also talk with Noah Searson of NBC5. He's one of their newest sports anchors there over at NBC. He was in Canada for Saturday's game for UVM men's basketball. Catamounts went on that international series taking on 3 Canadian teams. They went 3-0. Noah tells us about what he saw and what we may be able to learn. So a ton to get to over the course of the next 90 minutes. Again, a full show up until 7 o'clock. And then Lee Cattell hanging out today, I think is the word for a Jazz with George Thomas. George out, Lee in. You can get in, as always, on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. That's 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Check us out, streaming on video, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and my Twitter account, too. So let's waste no time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. We will talk about the Red Sox weekend as a whole here momentarily. Again, taking 2 of 3 from the Yankees. But I want to get to something really, really juicy that our friend, our insider, Buster Olney, told WEEI in Boston yesterday. And we don't have the audio, but it came on the Bradfo show with the Clubhouse insider, Rob Bradford. And Buster, we have a transcription of Buster's quote. And it's about Rafael Devers and his future. Buster says, and I quote, "I think they'll offer Devers an offer he can't refuse." That's pretty simple, right? That's pretty simple. That's pretty straightforward. Buster is saying that, in his opinion, the Red Sox will try to blow Devers out of the water with a contract offer. And for what it's worth, he thinks they're going to start making offers this offseason. Okay? Number one, this is great news. This is great news if you are a Red Sox fan. The Red Sox need Rafael Devers moving forward. So if it happens where the Red Sox make him an offer he can't refuse, great. Frankly, that is the kind of thing that I want to hear. But 2, I've got to say, Buster's assertion really, really surprises me. Buster says pretty confidently, "I think they'll offer Devers an offer he can't refuse." I'm confused by this. Why does Buster feel this way now? Why is Buster confident in this Red Sox regime spending massively now all of a sudden? Buster has come on with us every single week of the season this year, except for the week I was on vacation. He's been with us every week. And he hasn't felt confident about the Red Sox commitment to spending. He hasn't felt confident about their ability to retain Devers or Xander Bogaerts. He hasn't felt confident that Chaim Bloom and John Henry would ever invest in this team. He has not felt like that, and he's been telling us he doesn't feel like that for months. I don't understand. I love Buster. I want to know what's changed for him. Yesterday, with the Brad Foe show on EEI, I think they'll offer Devers an offer he can't refuse. The previous 4 months with us, he's never been confident that the Red Sox are going to go all in to bring back Bogaerts or to bring back Devers. He's always had doubts that Chaim Bloom was going to spend big. He's asked when the Red Sox are going to act like a big market team again. He's been questioning Chaim Bloom for months, and I've got audio from the last several months to prove it. Look, this is April 12th. April 12th on our show.
I think you and I have talked about how Chaim still feels like that, in a lot of cases, he's running the Red Sox more like a small market team. The Trevor Story contract aside, I don't see a lot of evidence to the contrary.
So that was April 12th on our show. April 22nd on our show, he said something very similar just 10 days later.
I don't know. It does feel as if they're, sort of tying one hand behind their back financially. You've seen teams like the Mets and the Dodgers go all in, and so it does jump out when you see the Yankees and the Red Sox sort of hold their financial fire.
My question is, what has changed for Buster? Those two clips were from April. I've got a clip from 2 weeks ago of him saying, if John Henry's not all in, John Henry should maybe look at selling the team. So I picked those from April because they were nice. I've got those same type of comments up until 2 weeks ago. And I'm not playing gotcha games with Buster in order to prove Buster wrong. I am genuinely curious. For months, Buster has told us that he doubts this regime. He doubts their willingness to once again act like a big market team. What's changed? That's all I want to know. I need to know the answer to that. Is someone in the organization telling Buster, is Sam Kennedy or Chaim Bloom themselves telling Buster, hey, we're going to spend, we're looking to lock up Devers? Are other teams getting the sense that what they are hearing on the ground is that the Red Sox are gearing up to make an offer for Rafael Devers? Is Scott Boras himself, his agent, talking to Buster? I don't know any of the answers to that. But it's very, very interesting that Buster feels this way yesterday after months of feeling like the audio clips that I just played for you. I hope that yesterday's assertion is right. I don't want Buster's thoughts from the last 4 months to be what's really happening. I hope that yesterday is truthful, and I hope that yesterday is right, because this team needs Rafael Devers moving forward. I know he's been struggling over the last couple of weeks since he came off the injured list, but the home run yesterday was a bomb. They need Rafael Devers to anchor the middle of their lineup for a decade. They need this. Rafael Devers, I hope they sign him. I hope they offer him a 10-year, $265 million deal. I hope they offer him a 12-year, $305 million deal. I hope that yesterday what Buster says is the way that it really is. I hope it is. I beg for that to be the case, because this team needs him. They're going to lose JD Martinez, who hasn't been great, although he was great on Friday. They're going to lose JD Martinez. They might lose Xander Bogaerts. They need Rafael Devers there for a decade plus. I just got to know what's changed. And of course, go figure, Buster's on vacation this week, so we're not going to speak to Buster today. I would ask him myself on Thursday if he was going to be here, but he's not. He's going to be on vacation. The Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line is open, 802-585-3026. Jack in South Burlington says, did Buster say that only if they lose Xander Bogaerts? I don't know the context. That's a fair question. I went on Twitter. I found the Red Sox radio booth on Twitter, they tweeted out the direct quote from Buster. There was no corresponding audio with it. So I don't know the context. I don't know if Buster said, hey, if they lose Bogarts, they're gonna make Devers an offer he can't refuse. I don't know if he said, hey, they're gonna choose Devers over Bogarts. I don't know if he said they're gonna want both. I don't know the context. Virginia and Starksboro's laughing at me, saying 10 and 265. I'm going to tell you why I don't. She goes, try 10 and 400 million and we will talk. I'm actually very glad that Virginia said that, because in the 6 o'clock hour, about 1 hour from now, we're going to talk about that. Because after talking with Buster last week, I believe there is no excuse for the Red Sox to not re-sign Rafael Devers. And I don't believe the number that Devers gets is going to be anywhere near 10 years and 400 million. At one point, I thought it was. Maybe even a month ago, I thought it was. But after talking with Buster last week, I don't think it is. I think Rafael Devers is going to be very, very affordable. I think it's going to be very affordable. And I will tell you why about an hour from now. As for what we saw this weekend, Red Sox take 2 of 3 from the Yankees. It was a great series for the Sox. They finally get the monkey off their back. At this point, it was like an ape-sized, a gorilla-sized monkey off their back in terms of finally being able to win a series against an AL East opponent. It was a great series. But for me, it was also very frustrating. From a baseball standpoint, right, it was a lot of fun. It's 2 wins. It's 2 wins at home. It's 2 wins against the Yankees. 2 wins that keep you alive in the wild card chase where you're 4.5 back entering play today. It was just a lot of fun. It's fun to play close games against your rival at home and win. It was fun. But it was frustrating to me, this series, as a fan, because I was reminded all weekend of, this is what could have been and should have been all season. Like, this is what it was supposed to be like. And it wasn't. And that is frustrating to me. When you see greatness and realize that it's accompanied with wasted opportunity and wasted potential, that does rub me the wrong way. Like, this is what it was supposed to be like. I still don't think the Red Sox are going to make the playoffs. I saw 18% chance at one site, 16% at another, 8 on another. The odds are still very much against them. I don't believe the Red Sox are going to make the playoffs, but this weekend offered a glimpse as to what we could have had. Exciting baseball, captivating baseball, big hits from Devers, a great defensive play from Devers last night. Bogarts playing the unselfish baseball, scoring the run on the ground ball, get him on, get him over, get him in. JD Martinez rallying you in the 9th inning on Friday to send the game to extras. Tommy Pham winning it in the 9th. Garrett Whitlock shoving at the back end of a game. This is what it was supposed to be. And the Red Sox even did it without Story, Kike, Refsnyder, several key players. It could have been like this, and it could have been like this even with plus if you had those guys. And we just haven't seen this weekend enough this year, and it frustrates me that it was always in there, and the Sox haven't been able to bring it out. They didn't bring it out enough in April when they were 9 and 13. They didn't bring it out enough in July when they were 8 and 19, and they're still under 500 in August, I believe, at 6 and 7. They showed the ability to play and win close games. They showed the ability to beat a team that's ahead of them in the standings, win a low-scoring game. This is what it could have been had they not been underachieving for most of the year. I do give Michael Wacha incredible props. 7 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts. His changeup was just phenomenal yesterday. You know how a changeup is really good? When you're willing to throw it to batters that are the same side as the pitcher is. Michael Wacha, a right-handed pitcher, throwing changeups repeatedly to right-handed hitters. You don't usually get away with that. Pitching coaches and managers, they stay away from right-on-right changeups because the ball floats right back in to the batter's barrel. They don't want that. That's why you generally see righties throw sliders and curveballs to righties because they move away from them, and generally changeups to lefties because it moves away from them. Walker was going right-on-right changeups last night. And he was baffling them. He K'd everybody with it. Benintendi, lefty, yeah, he got him up a couple times. Judge, yeah, he got him. When you see a guy throwing a right-on-right changeup or a left-on-left changeup, you know it's pretty special, and Walker's was special last night. When deep into the game, bullpen, we've talked about how it's been so overtaxed, and it's even worse now with Houck on the injured list. And there's Walker just sucking up innings last night, turned it over to Brazier and Whitlock. Great stuff. 802-585-3026. Will up in Plattsburgh says, exactly right, Brady. This was the team I thought they would be. So frustrating. Agree with you completely, Will. Peter says, Waka was St. Louis prime Waka last night. He even hit 95 miles an hour deep into that effort. Yeah, the velocity for Waka was really good. I tend to think of him as, 92 with movement. Well, yesterday he was 95. He was near the top of the zone, and he goes those 7 innings, allowing just 2 hits with 1 walk and 9 strikeouts. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We'll get back into the Sox with that Devers conversation at about 6:40. But coming up next, I'm starting to think we could see a very surprise cut from the Patriots roster. A guy I didn't think would get cut, I now think probably will and probably should get cut. We'll tell you who that is. That's next on DEV.
On today's edition of The Adventures of Julia, brought to you by Vermont Tire and Service and Cooper Tires. Julia and her 2 pups, Charlie and Champ, have been making more frequent trips to the Northeast Kingdom to check in on Julia's grandmother. She realized that her VW Westphalia was showing signs of aging, and it was getting terrible gas mileage. With the price of fuel so high, Julia realized she needed something that could comfortably fit the pups and save on gas. She found a great deal on a low-mileage Honda CR-V. Before she purchased it, she took it to Vermont Tire and Service, where they determined she needed new brakes and a new set of Cooper tires. They quoted a reasonable price for the repairs, and Julia was thrilled with her new Honda and grateful to the crew at Vermont Tire and Service. Charlie and Champ were loving the sunroof, too. Gear up and save big. Get up to a $70 prepaid Visa card when you purchase a set of qualifying Cooper tires. Selling Cooper tires and other quality brands at Vermont Tire and Service in Montpelier and South Burlington.
Marvin windows are designed for unprecedented performance and exceptional aesthetics. Marvin's expansive window portfolio has every style you can imagine, all of them crafted with the highest quality material and the ability to mix and match across product lines that allows you to achieve the right form and function for your residential, commercial, and replacement needs. See our Marvin specialist at Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber in Middlesex, St. Albans, Enosburg, Swanton, and Derby, or online at sticksandstuff.com.
Congratulations to Walter Liggett of Montpelier, our latest winner from WDEV's Fairness to Fans machine. The next firing of Fairness to Fans is Friday, August 26th. You must be listening to win. Fill out the entry form at WDEVradio.com, then tune in Friday, August 26th during the noon hour. If we call your name, you'll have 5 minutes and 50 seconds to call in and win the LaRue Brothers Transmission's Fairness to Fans machine, only on WDEV.
VSCCU is a credit union for everybody in Vermont. Our relationships matter at VSCCU.
I'd known Jessica. When I found out where she worked, I stopped in and she said, "Hey, where do you do your banking?" And at the time I didn't have a bank. I had no credit at all. I had avoided ever using credit, and Jessica got me going with an account and pulled the credit report, which was non-existent, and said, "Hey, all right, this is what we're going to do." 15 years later, I own my own business. I have a really nice vehicle, and I'm looking at building a house next year. It's literally from following the instructions of my friends at VSCCU that have gotten me to the place where I am today. I will tell everyone that I know this is where they should be doing their banking. To everybody at VSCCU, thank you for all you do for Vermont, for local communities, and for friends.
You can be a member too. Learn more at vsccu.com.
This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
This is Freddie Coleman of ESPN, and you're listening to Brady Farkas Show right here at WDEV and WDEVradio.com.
No Red Sox baseball today. Sox getting ready for Pittsburgh beginning tomorrow for a 3-game series. We'll be off the air at about 6 o'clock each of the next couple of days, actually every day the rest of this week. So we've got a full show, all 90 minutes today. I'll tell you about the award I won at 6:05. I'll tell you, we'll talk with Noah Searson of NBC5 Sports at about 6:15 about his takeaways from UVM men's basketball north of the border in Canada. But right now, I want to talk a little Patriots. Patriots beaten by the Giants in the preseason opener last week. They're taking on the Panthers this week. We're going to get to the point where we got to get some cuts here this week at NFL training camp. I think get down to 85 players here. I'm beginning to think that Malcolm Butler could be a surprise cut from the Patriots. And in addition to that, I'm thinking I'm more than okay if he is cut from the roster. I have seen this now a few different places, this possibility. And I got to say, I never thought about it as a reality until this morning. I thought that Malcolm Butler was going to be a given on the roster. And in fact, I thought he was going to be a given as a starter. This whole rhetoric kind of took me by surprise. But the more I think about it, I think that Malcolm Butler has a high likelihood of getting cut. And I am more than okay if he does get cut. Let's just run some basic math here. Like, I thought Butler was a guaranteed lock, and I thought he was going to start. But you start to do some basic math, you start to realize he's not really necessary. Let's look at where we're at right now. The general thought process is that an NFL team needs 10 defensive backs. That's the general thought process. You may only play 8 on game day, but 10 is the consensus number that most teams will carry. So let's look at where the Patriots are at. Kyle Duggar is a given as a safety. Devin McCourty is a given as a safety. So is Adrian Phillips. And in my mind, so is Jabril Peppers. That's 4 safeties there that are locks. That leaves us 6 new spots. Marcus Jones, rookie out of Houston, he's a lock. Jack Jones, rookie out of Arizona State, he's a lock. That's 6 DBs already givens. Jonathan Jones is a given, that's 7. Jalen Mills is a given, that's 8. So we're already at just 2 spots left. It feels like the Patriots are fighting now to figure out those final 2 spots in the defensive backfield. And there's a lot of guys there vying for those 2 spots. Josh Bledsoe is a guy who they drafted last year. He's a guy who plays safety. Young, athletic, has 3 years left on his contract. He's in the mix. He's got some age and contractual stuff that make him a better fit than Malcolm Butler. Josh Bledsoe could be in the mix. Miles Bryant, we talked about him on Friday. Play DB, play safety, adds value in the punt return game too. If he can make this team as a punt returner, then right there we're talking about taking up a roster spot. Then there's Terrence Mitchell and Sean Wade, who both have strong cases to make this team. Sean Wade is a very young player, high upside player from Ohio State. Terrence Mitchell's a veteran player who's younger than Butler is. The more you think about it, this just makes sense. Malcolm Butler is a Super Bowl hero. He has delivered one of the biggest plays in Patriots history, one of the biggest plays in NFL history, and maybe the biggest play in Super Bowl history. This is not to disparage anything that he's accomplished in the past or anything he's done in New England, but when you start to just run the numbers, there's not a lot of room for him, and I don't think he's all that necessary. I look around the defensive back room, the 4 safeties are givens. Jalen Mills is under long-term contract. Jonathan Jones is just better at this point. The 2 rookies, the 2 Joneses, they're in. Like, that's at 8. I'd rather have Terrence Mitchell than Malcolm Butler, He's 30 years old, not 32. Malcolm Butler took all of last year off. Terrence Mitchell didn't. I at least know what Terrence Mitchell can do. I'd rather have Mitchell. I'd rather have Wade. I'd rather have Miles Bryant, who adds to the special teams game and can play safety and DB both. There's not a lot of room there. Malcolm Butler played 23 snaps in the preseason. I was surprised by that. Well, not really now. The guys playing in the preseason are generally guys fighting for roster spots, and that just might be what Malcolm Butler is doing. I don't think this team needs him. It's not that he's totally washed, but when you look around at what this team needs, they need guys who are known commodities. Malcolm Butler no longer is. Did not play all of last season. They need guys who are young and athletic, and Malcolm Butler doesn't fit that build. He does not fit that bill. He's 32 years old. He's not as fast as he was the first time in New England. There are if we're looking at positions 9 and 10 in the defensive backfield, Miles Bryant, younger, more versatile. Terrence Mitchell, younger, still a veteran. Sean Wade, younger, more potential. I don't think Malcolm Butler is necessary, and I don't think that Malcolm Butler is going to make this team. I don't think he's going to make this team. Ross says Butler for a special teams player or transfer him into a temporary usage wide receiver. Neither one of those will happen. Malcolm Butler himself is not going to just be a special teams player. Malcolm Butler himself will probably go play for the soon-to-be 4-13 Seahawks if he's got a better chance at starting. That is the way 32-year-old veterans are wired. So the Patriots have better special teams options when you talk about Miles Bryant or Sean Wade. They don't need Butler to do that job. Butler, I'm sure, would not accept that job. And Malcolm Butler becoming a temporary wide receiver. Ross, what are we doing here? He's 32 years old. There's a reason why he became a DB in the first place. Likely because he couldn't be a wide receiver. So, no, we don't need to do that. Funny story real quick, actually, though, about Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler was involved in the first ever big assignment I was given in this business. Now, I failed at this project, but the first big project I was ever given was to get Malcolm Butler on the radio. Here's what happened, right? So I was in Albany. This is 2000 and, well, this is whatever year the Patriots beat the Seahawks. So 2000 and, I guess it's the 2014 season. It's early in 2015. So my station, I didn't go, but my station went to Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Monday night at the Super Bowl is Super Bowl media night. That's where all the players are out there and available. And you can go and fight everybody to talk to the guys at the podium, or you can talk to the lesser-known players. So Malcolm Butler was at that point, this is pre-Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl, pre his big play. At that point, Malcolm Butler was a very little-known player. So my station, when interviewed Malcolm Butler, because he was just there and he was readily available, right? And they got 5 or 6 minutes with him, and they're talking with Butler, and they're having some fun with him. It's kind of like a fun interview with a guy who's not going to do much. Well, they end the interview just kind of casually like, hey, Malcolm, we think you're going to do something great on Super Bowl Sunday. And Butler's like, I hope you're right. And, of course, he does. He makes the biggest play in Super Bowl history. And no one had known who Malcolm Butler was. The guys who are on our station, they didn't know who Malcolm Butler was. They just knew he was walking around and he was unencumbered and they could talk to him. But so they say, hey, we think you're going to do something great. So after the Super Bowl, after Butler makes the play, and once 2 weeks have passed or so, my boss comes to me. It's my very first, it's like one of my first weeks on the job. He says, we need you to get Malcolm Butler on. Okay, we talked to him. We told him he would do great things. It's a fun story. Let's get him on. So I'm like, how the hell am I going to get Malcolm Butler on? So I reached out to the Patriots, and I reached out to South Alabama, where he played his college ball, and I reached out to, I reached out to all these places. I tried to find his high school coach. None of it worked. I didn't get Malcolm Butler on the air. But I remember it vividly that the first ever big assignment I was given in this business was to try to get Malcolm Butler on the air because our guys had done the interview with him before the Super Bowl where they predicted that he was destined for greatness. So there's just a great luck of of them that they, that Butler fulfilled this, but I didn't make the project happen. Ross comes back and says, Patriots lack wide receivers due to injuries every year. It was just an idea to keep him on the roster. I don't think he's really needed either, just thinking outside the box. And that's fair. They've got Trey Nixon. They've got Will Jordan Humphrey. They've got Christian Wilkerson. They've got other wide receivers. And there will be guys cut by the end of this that will be available as well. So Malcolm Butler, just keeping him on the roster as a token thank you, not necessary. And I don't think he would want that either. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We'll talk UVM hoops after the CBS News update, and I won an award. That's right. I'll tell you why. That's next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by
I'm Monica Ritz from New York. The Justice Department says it does not want an affidavit on the FBI's Mar-a-Lago search released to the public. CBS's Stephen Portnoy tells us why.
As it objects to the release of the FBI affidavit, saying it would harm an ongoing criminal investigation, the Justice Department makes two key revelations. First, it indicates that the sealed document contains, quote, highly sensitive information about witnesses who've been interviewed by the FBI. And second, it confirms that the investigation, quote, implicates highly classified materials. Congressional Democrats have requested an assessment of any national security damage that may have been done with the storage of classified materials at a private club in Palm Beach.
Trump's former attorney, Rudy Giuliani, is now the target of an investigation into the 2020 election in Georgia, and he's set to testify there in just a few days. Legal analyst Phil Holloway.
If he has been told that he is a target, the odds are extremely high that you're not going to hear much of anything from him except an invocation of his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham wants to appeal his subpoena. WNBA star Brittany Griner's legal team is appealing her 9-year Russian prison sentence for drug possession. It comes as the U.S. and Russia hold talks that could lead to a high-profile prison swap. The U.S. says Russia may also be using a power plant as leverage in Ukraine. Pentagon spokesman Ned Price.
We do continue to urge an end to all military operations at or near Ukraine's facilities and the return of full control of those facilities to Ukraine.
Fighting at the plant is triggering fears of nuclear catastrophe. Frontline workers in Oklahoma are worried about new abortion laws.
Abortion laws that took effect in Oklahoma this year make it a felony for anyone to advise a woman about abortion or help her get the procedure out of state. Clergy members, social workers, and even librarians have raised concerns about being exposed to criminal or civil liability for even discussing the topic with a woman.
That's CBS's Jim Kursula. In Wyoming, voters head to the polls soon for a big GOP primary. CBS's Steve Futterman.
Liz Cheney certainly faces a steep uphill battle in tomorrow's Republican primary. The latest University of Wyoming poll shows only 28% of likely voters plan to vote for Cheney. You talk to voters, they say they may have voted for Cheney in the past, but they believe she has abandoned them, and they believe she has abandoned former President Trump.
Millions of kids are heading back to school this week, many in person for the first time since 2020.
I get to see my friends again. I get to see a teacher. I get to sit in a desk and not in front of a screen.
And not wear masks. This is CBS News.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Visit libertymutual.com to learn more.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part? Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
California's ongoing drought is forcing some cities to offer free recycled water to help residents with irrigation.
With a 300-gallon tank in the back of his pickup, John Campbell stopped by a treated wastewater filling station.
Getting recycled water to try and keep my grass green and my plants alive.
The recycled water is free with a permit.
Basically, you can use it outside on irrigation, but you can't drink it.
Water Resources spokesperson Natalie Croak says the last time they opened their taps was in 2015 during California's last major drought.
And we've brought it back this year because we do have some irrigation restrictions for residents.
Matt Bigler for CBS News, Livermore, California.
Kraft Heinz is recalling thousands of cases of wild cherry-flavored Capri Sun because they may be contaminated with cleaning solution. The company's now working with retailers to pull product off store shelves. No one's been hurt so far, but several people have complained about the taste. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
This is Field Yates of ESPN, and you're listening to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV Radio and the WDEV app.
Thank you very much, Field. We're about 10 minutes away from Noah Searson of NBC5 Sports joining us here, talking about UVM men's basketball north of the border this weekend. Catamounts won 3 games against Canadian colleges, so lots to discuss there with Noah. I do want to talk a little bit about my weekend. And hey, I like to think I'm not one to brag. I like to think I'm pretty humble. I might come off a little braggy here. I'm going to tell you straight out. I won Pitcher of the Week in my Men's League Baseball League. Green Mountain Baseball League Pitcher of the Week. That's right. I got that notification, I think, on a Saturday afternoon. I played for the South Burlington Expos. Our season ended last weekend in the playoffs. We lost our playoff series 2-1, but we won the game that I pitched. I threw a complete game, all 7 innings, gave up 1 unearned run, although it was listed as an earned run. It's all right. They still gave me the award anyways. I think I had 7 strikeouts there, and yeah, named Pitcher of the Week. The awards come out every week. There's Pitcher of the Week. There's Hitter of the Week. First time all season anyone on my team had won any of the awards. We had kind of a rough year. We finished as the 8th seed in the playoffs, but we did win the playoff game that I pitched against the 3 seed to pull an upset. And again, I'm not trying to brag. Like, at the end of the day, I know it's men's league baseball. It doesn't mean a whole lot, but I will say it's nice to know that as an adult, you can still win awards. I thought my award-winning days were over, but not this time. It was very, very cool. I got some nice words from our player coach, Miles. Miles, because they have the player coach kind of give a testimonial about every award winner. It's very official here in the Green Mountain Men's League. Very, very official. Said that I was an iron horse. Oh, here we go. Let's see exactly what he says. Brady is an iron horse. He has more than half of all innings pitched for the Expos this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he leads the league in innings pitched total. When he takes the mound, you have absolute confidence he'll take you deep into the game. With the Expos pitching staff short-staffed this year, he stepped up huge and took it upon himself to get us through the season. He deserves recognition for everything he has done for us this year. Thank you very much to Skip there. Skip Miles, appreciate you. But there you go. And the league, by the way, the league people, the Green Mountain Baseball League, they did confirm I did lead the league in innings pitched this year. I threw 60 1/3 innings this year. That's the most innings I have ever thrown in a men's league. Not the most I've ever thrown in a full year. Like between college and summer ball, I'd thrown, 100 innings before, but I threw 60 1/3 innings this year. I think I probably threw 9 complete games. Like, I probably threw like 9, 6 or 7 inning games, which gets you somewhere in the 50 range. And then there's probably 1 or 2 that went 4 or 5 innings that ended early for various reasons. So most innings I've thrown in a league in years. Ton of fun. By the way, Green Mountain Baseball League, I love playing in it. I love playing in the Green Mountain Baseball League. This was the best year of the league by far. Most teams, deepest teams, a lot of youth. So to get Pitcher of the Week, I mean, it's a pretty good league now. This isn't 5 years ago when the league wasn't as good. This league very, very good. So a lot of fun as always. So appreciate to Dylan, who is the commissioner of the league, Mark, who's the statistician and helps runs the awards. So appreciate everybody who had a big hand in the league. And there you go. Yeah, I won pitcher of the week. I know none of you care for the most part, but I care. It was nice. The season's over. I don't win awards anymore. I'm too old to be playing for championships, that actually matter anywhere. Winning pitcher of the week, damn it, is what I have still. And I'm glad I was able to do it. Text on the text line, Charles in Heinsberg. Good job, Brady. That's awesome. What were your final stats for the season? I actually thought somebody might ask that, so I actually did come armed with that information. It's very hard to tell you accurately. I don't keep my own stats anymore. I was that guy, I was that kind of selfish player that kept stats until I was about 29. Only not that long ago did I stop, but I don't do it this year. Just not worth it anymore. The league does have a stats website. That site says I have an ERA of 4.3. I can tell you for a fact that's not right. I don't know what my ERA actually was, but it definitely was not 4.3. You know how these things go. If you're out there on the text line, you know how this goes. The home team's scorebook gets counted as official. So every time I'm not the home team gives everything a hit. Ground ball to shortstop under the guy's legs, hit. Pop up to the infielder that they lose in the sun, drops in front of 3 people, hit. Pass ball doesn't exist. Anything there was probably 4 games where I got charged with 7 earned runs that were really 2, just because the scorekeepers have no idea what they're doing. So I don't know what my ERA really was. I know it wasn't 4.3, and it's probably closer to 2.5, but that's a total guess. Duke over in Cabot. Do I see myself playing again next year, going for a repeat of pitcher of the week? Of course. Lou in Rockingham. What's your best pitch? Now, it's kind of a slider/cutter. It's funny, when I was in high school, my curveball was my best pitch. 2008, Shenandoah Plainsman, I would throw a curveball in any count. 1-0, 0-2, 3-0, didn't matter. If I threw a curveball, I was throwing it for a strike. And then I got to college, and I couldn't throw a curveball for a strike to save my life. And I developed a great changeup. My changeup got me through 4 years of college baseball. Now, men's leagues, I can't find my changeup at all. Haven't been able to throw a good changeup in 5 years. Now I throw a slider cutter, and that's probably my best pitch. Anthony in Montpelier, what is your best men's league season ever? I know you've been playing for a while. I don't obviously have the stats in front of me, but I'll tell the people behind the glass that they can look these up. So I'll let them get to it here while I talk for a second. So the league I play in now in Vermont, right, is the Green Mountain Baseball League. I just told you that. I played in the exact same version of this league in New York. I played in the Albany Twilight League, and I also played in what was called the Capital District Senior Men's League. And like the Green Mountain Baseball League, the Capital District Senior Men's League has its own stat site. And I trust those stats more because, it was only our team's book that counted, so our team's book was a lot closer to being right than what I'm dealing with right now. So you can find those stats. The producers here can tell me when they've got them up, but I can tell you, I don't know what year it was. I started playing in that league in 2013. One of those years, I had just an insane year. An absolutely insane year. Oh, we've got the stats already. Here we go. Here you go, Anthony in Montpelier. This is for you. 2013, I was playing on 2 teams, so I only threw 27 innings in this league. I was 3-2 with a 1.22 ERA. 2014, this was the ridiculous year. We won the championship. I started the All-Star game, I believe. I was 6-1 with a 1.65 ERA in 51 innings. And I had 54 strikeouts and 3 walks for the entire season. I threw 51 innings. I had 54 strikeouts and 3 walks. 2015, I threw 52 innings. That must be the year where my arm started to really hurt because I struck out almost nobody. I was 6-2 with a 2.56. I only had 34 strikeouts in 52 innings. That's horrendous. The next year, I went 4-3 with a 2.02, also in 52 innings. And then 2017, it was the last year I played in that league. I was a part-time player because I was living here, but I was commuting back there to play. I pitched 17 innings and had an ERA of 2.05. I had a pretty good run in that league. Never had an ERA over 2.56. I made the All-Star team a few times. I was playoff MVP in that league. I won a game in 3 consecutive years worth of championship series, and I got inducted into my men's league team's Hall of Fame. I'm not even joking you. Very official. I'm in the Capital District Senior Men's League Mets Ring of Honor. True story. My team had a Ring of Honor, and I'm actually in it. So it was nice to win Pitcher of the Week. It brought me back a little bit to back in the day when I was dominating like that. So lots of good stuff there. All right. Anyone else want to ask me Men's League Baseball questions? 802-585-3026. Let's see. High school sports don't get coverage because the average listener is not interested. Men's League Baseball is nonstop. Please stop. Well, the text line tells you otherwise, texter, that people are interested in Men's League Baseball. People like hearing when the host does well or makes a jackass of themselves. And that's never going to change about radio. So when the guy gets tossed last week, that's a funny story. When I get shelled 2 weeks ago, that's a funny story. And if I'm going to tell you how I get shelled, I'm going to tell you that I won the damn award. That's for sure. Mark in South Hero said he gives me a congratulations. Peter says the Albany Twilight League, very competitive. That's impressive, Brady. Thank you. And then another text. What's the one pitch you wish you had in your arsenal? Well, I wish I had developed a slider earlier in life and a two-seamer. I would probably say a two-seamer. I wish I had a fastball that wasn't straight. My fastballs are straight, and that's no good. So, all right, we got Noah waiting now. So for the texter that wants Men's League Baseball talk done, here you go. This is for you. We're going to talk now with Noah Searson. Noah Searson, one of the newest members of NBC5's sports coverage. Our guy, Jack Main, our old intern from last year, intern Jack, he's also on the NBC5 sports desk. Well, Noah went up to Canada this weekend. He was there on Saturday. UVM men's basketball played 3 games this weekend. Friday, they played Concordia. Saturday, McGill. Sunday, they took on University of Quebec at Montreal. They went 3-0. So Noah was there on Saturday. He's got some takeaways. He's got some things that I got some things I got to ask him. Noah's with us now. Noah Searson, NBC5, first time on the Brady Farkas Show. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. It was nice to, nice to finally be here, of course. And then nice to see some August college basketball. I felt like when I was on the court, I had like the CBS March Madness music already like pulsing into my veins. It was awesome.
Your first impression of the Catamounts, because this is the first time you've ever seen UVM live and in person. What was your overall first impression?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting this year and likely a lot different than the past couple of years just because how much turnover has been on the roster. And that's honestly the thing that I kind of noticed at first. There's definitely talent on the squad. And I made it up there on Saturday. And I think on Saturday they started kind of moving some of the pieces around, getting some of the first-year freshmen, which there are a bunch of them, involved. But I think the first thing I noticed is that this is a very talented squad, and I think you're also going to see some guys from past years take big leaps up. I look at a guy like Aaron Deloney. He really impressed me, just not only on the court, but as a leader on the team, along with, everybody's been talking about Dylan Penn, and I'm sure we can talk about him more as well, the Bellarmine transfer. So I think my biggest takeaway is that the talent's there. Coach Becker already has them, kind of running in a cohesive unit, but it might be a little slower out of the gates than maybe Catamount fans are used to in the past.
We've talked a lot about Dylan Penn. We talked a lot about him last week. The transfer from Bellarmine, Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament Player of the Year. He led the team in scoring in the Friday night game. Saturday had a little bit of a scare. You were there. Kind of tell me what happened.
Yeah, so previous to him getting injured, he's a very explosive player, likes to get out on the fast break, and, he's going to be the best player on this team. That's how it is. I think it's what everybody expected. But yeah, you mentioned it was kind of a weird play where, he was going for a rebound. He's really active on the glass for a guy that's only 6'3" and essentially point guard, shooting guard, kind of that's where he rolls around. But he fell very hard on his tailbone on the court and was on the ground for, a good minute and a half, kind of just catching his breath. I'm assuming he got the wind knocked out of him immediately, but was also, when he got up, holding his tailbone. The trainers worked on him a little bit, but he exited the court probably within 5 minutes of coming out of the game. So I asked Becker about that after the game, and he basically said, he's pretty banged up. He didn't play on Sunday. And there's really no update past that. Good news is they have, I think, 80 plus days off at this point between now and when the season will actually start. So I don't think it will be anything that really holds him out long term, but definitely scary, especially when talking to Becker before the weekend, he said the biggest thing we want to do is make sure nobody gets injured. That was kind of his number one goal.
How about freshman TJ Hurley, a guy we've heard a lot about here in this summer session, can supposedly really shoot it from deep, and you apparently saw that on full display on Saturday.
My goodness, TJ Hurley was a dog in the fourth quarter against McGill. Hit 5 3-pointers in the fourth quarter alone, had a team high 17 points. And he's just one of those guys where, he can shoot the ball, but when you see him out on the court, he gets to his spots and he just has a beautiful, beautiful shot. He's not somebody that is going to necessarily start this year, but I think he is definitely going to be making an impact as a freshman. And looking at all the freshmen, because there's a bunch of them, I think he's the one that has the biggest chance to play the biggest role this year. Can easily see him as the 6th, 7th guy coming off the bench. And really kind of slotting in that 3-and-D role when, outside of him, UVM doesn't have a ton of shooting. They really struggled from distance. Other than that, especially when, Deloney can shoot a little bit, but Dylan Penn, that's not his game at all. He is not going to want to shoot it from distance. He wants to get downhill and attack the hoop. So I think balancing that with Hurley on the court is going to be great. And in talking to Becker, he said that basically he's been doing that all summer, what he did on Saturday. So I think that's really encouraging to see the Canadian, I believe he's from Ontario, making a big impact early in what is the deepest recruiting class that has really ever come in.
We're talking with Noah Sears, an NBC5 television anchor here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. He was up in Canada on Saturday for UVM's contest against McGill. Catamounts also won on Friday and Sunday as well for a 3-0 weekend. I'm curious if you kind of took any takeaways from the rotation and who played with who and maybe what the starting lineup was like, because it's a very interesting group of players UVM has. Like you mentioned, Dylan Penn not being an outside shooter. Well, neither is Robin Duncan. So, in my mind, those guys can't really play together. I'm curious if they did. I'm curious if you picked up who started, etc.
Yeah, so Robin Duncan started on Saturday. It sounds like he probably won't start during the season, and that would probably be more of a rotational thing. Honestly, Saturday, it was kind of hard to tell with the rotation because when you have an international set of exhibitions like this, as much as you want to win the games like they did, all 3 of them, you also want to make sure everybody's getting a little action. So, for example, Finn Sullivan didn't even play on Saturday. He will be playing plenty in this upcoming season. I think the biggest thing that will be the question mark is not really with the guards, though. It's the forwards. And I kind of asked this question straight up to Becker. I was like, is this going to be a similar rotation to what we see come fall, or is it going to switch up? And, he said that as far as the guards go, when they're healthy, it's going to be Deloney, it's going to be Penn, it's going to be Duncan, it's going to be Finn Sullivan. But once you get to the forwards, it's Nick Fioriello and everybody else. It's really an open spot, and there are a lot of talented guys there. You had, I believe, George Ochoa played I think like 17 minutes on Saturday. He had the second most minutes off the bench. He's also a freshman. So I think he has a potential to play a big spot. And then Matt Veretto didn't play when I went up on Saturday. I believe he played on Friday and Sunday. Also a decent shot to start once the season rolls up. But, from what I can tell, I think it is still a work in progress. And that is kind of to be expected when you bring 7 new guys into the fold at the same time. I mean, that is really a lot. And I think even the first month of the season, we'll still be watching Becker kind of toy with different lineups, who works well where, and that will be interesting. But I do expect between TJ Hurley, Jackson Skipper, George Ochoa, this kind of really, really talented first-year bunch, I expect at least one of them to be either starting or, playing at the end of games, kind of in that core group in crunch time once the season goes on, because they're all very talented and, they all already got really clutch minutes this weekend up in Montreal.
Ben Shungu, Ryan Davis, Justin Mazzulla, among others, all gone, as you've mentioned, with the turnover. All 3 of those guys in their own way were leaders on this team. Without them, did you notice anybody step up in a leadership capacity over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one that comes to mind that's pretty impressive is Dylan Penn. Definitely a leader on the court. And, there were a couple times where they were, especially in the second and third quarter, because they're playing quarters, FIBA rules 24-second shot clock up in Montreal. In the second and third quarter, they had a lot of turnovers and, were a little sloppy with the ball. And that, happens with the shorter shot clock as well. And Penn would be the one kind of, getting on his teammates in an encouraging way to be like, this is what we got to do. And he's definitely the one that pushes the pace on the court. And then I think also some of the guys that have been here for a while, Deloney, I think he's going to be a big leader on the court. Didn't see Finn Sullivan when I was there on Saturday. He will be a big leader, as will Nick Fioriello. So I think those are the big ones. And there are definitely guys there to pick up the slack, but I think it's the couple guys who have been around the program, and then really the one, not necessarily surprise one, but Dylan Penn. He's a grad transfer. He's had his time in college basketball. When you look on the court, he's the one that's really forcing the pressure. And I think his energy kind of radiates to the rest of the team. His intensity on defense, his tenacity getting rebounds, his will to get towards the hoop, I think almost surrounds his teammates. And it's pretty cool to see, honestly.
No, we'll get you out of here on this off the UVM hoops front. You're about a month and change, 2 months, I guess, into the job at NBC5. You're from Minnesota originally. Your first impressions here of the Green Mountain State?
I love the Green Mountain State. It's awesome. It has a lot of the more naturey stuff. Great golf. I was able to get out yesterday. Don't ask me my score because I'm not going to share it. But no, it's been great so far. The people are awesome. I do have one big miss though, which I don't. You mentioned I've been here for 2 months now. I still have not had a maple creamy, which I feel like is synonymous with summers in Vermont. So that's probably like the one big miss that I'm like, I don't know how I haven't done that yet, but so far loving Vermont.
Get it mixed with blackberry maple. Ooh, that's the move. Trust me.
Okay, that'll be my first order then.
Noah Sears in NBC5 News. You can check him out as well as our buddy Jack Main doing the sports coverage there. 6, 10, and 11 for all the newscasts on NBC5, and Noah's a part of a number of those newscasts. So Noah, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the report. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brady.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. Great stuff there from Noah. Yes, welcome to Vermont for Noah. Yeah, from Minnesota originally, another Syracuse product. Actually, I've met him a number of times already. He actually played, a little bit on our men's league baseball team this year. The men's league baseball team that the texter says I'm not allowed to talk about. Noah was a part of it, so he's got some ability out there on the field as well, and a good perspective on UVM from his vantage point. I've actually got a number of kind of things churning in my head about what Noah had to say and about what everything we read about this weekend meant. Not a lot is known about this weekend, right? We know UVM won. We know UVM won all 3 games. We know who the leading scorer was in game 1. That was Dylan Penn with 19. In game 2, TJ Hurley had 17. There's no box scores out there for this, so kind of just going on what we're hearing from people like Noah, but I do have some takeaways and some follow-ups to what he was saying. So appreciate Noah Searson for going up to Canada and for joining us here today as well. Texter says, hope Dylan Penn recovers quickly and is able to get back on the floor fully for preseason and for practices. I agree with that. Noah says he went golfing yesterday. I went golfing Saturday. I don't want the texter to get mad at me, but I went golfing Saturday, played Basin Harbor and Vergennes for the very first time. Difficult course. Everything that's not on the tee right now, pretty good for me. If it's on the fairway, even if it's in the rough, I've been able to hit it well. On the tee, I can't hit a lick. Like my drives have like the worst slices the worst hooks, I should say, in the history of the planet right now. Like I could aim way to the right and it will end up still on the left. That's how bad we're at. I shot a 104 at Basin Harbor, which is probably not as bad as it sounds because that's a long course, but still, I shot a 104. Noah won't tell me what he shot. I shot a 104. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM at WDEVradio.com. Okay, I've got, again, the thoughts are marinating. What Noah said about UVM men's basketball, I've got some takeaways on that. That's next. And we'll take your text on the matter here on DEV.
Raffy swings it, drives a long way to right. Down the line, it is gone. Wow, almost hit the back wall. The Red Sox lead it 3-1. Boston Red Sox baseball on WDEV is brought to you by Bisbee's Hardware and by your local cooperative insurance agents. Berwick Agency in Peacham, Calderwood Agency Hardwick, Frankenberg Agency Randolph, and Hickok and Boardman in Stowe. Your home for Boston Red Sox baseball is WDEV.
Are you thinking of getting an electric vehicle? Are you curious about how they work, how much they cost, and how much money they save? Do you wince at the price every time you fill your gas tank? Then you should come to the Leap Electric Vehicle Fest, Wednesday, August 17th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Crossett Brook Middle School in Duxbury. You'll see Teslas, Mustangs, Volts, VWs, Rivians, Subarus, Hyundais, Prius Primes, and many other EVs, and hear directly from experts and owners about their cars. You'll also see a range of electric lawn equipment and some cool electric bikes, too. This free event is hosted by the volunteers of Waterbury Leap. If you're interested in skipping trips to the gas station, saving money, and helping the planet, then come to the Leap Electric Vehicle Fest, Wednesday, August 17th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Crossett Brook Middle School in Waterbury. No RSVP is required for this free event. Masks are strongly encouraged. For more information, call Elena at 603-748-9564.
The 17th annual Big Dog Daddy Hearing Clearance Sale is on at Memorial Valley Ford. Our customers' favorite sale is back and better than ever. Tell them, kid.
Thanks, Dan. Folks, at Memorial Valley Ford, we have one of the largest inventories of new Fords in New England, and we're ready to make deals. While many dealers have little or no inventory, take it from me, at Memorial Valley Ford, you won't have to settle for an ugly truck or SUV. Right now, at Memorial Valley Ford, we not only have a nice selection of new Ford vehicles on the lot ready for immediate delivery, but we also have a ton of late model, low mileage certified cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock. And folks, we need to sell them, and here's why. We have a massive amount of ordered and incoming 2023 Fords about to arrive, and we need to make room on our lot ASAP. Also, if you're in need by the end of the year, act now and don't get caught flat-footed this fall. Order the exact vehicle of your dreams by taking advantage of Lemoore Valley Ford's volume approach, and let us get your new truck or SUV ordered and built fast.
Woo! So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and the Big Dog Daddy Hearing Clearance Sale happening right now at Lemoore Valley Ford.
Racing on WDEV is brought to you in part by Gillies Sales and Service, Route 14 in East Montpelier, Chips Auto and Tire in Randolph, Ted Green Ford in Stockbridge, Optical Expressions in the Berlin Mall, and RK Miles with 10 locations and RKMiles.com. Season-long racing coverage on your racing station, WDEV AM and FM. The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. No Red Sox baseball today. Sox taking on the Pirates for 3 games beginning tomorrow night. So Jazz with George Thomas comes up after us. However, tonight it's Jazz with Lee Cattell. So Lee is going to be in here again until 9 o'clock before Eye on the World with John Batchelor. We'll take your texts on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, your thoughts on UVM men's basketball. We just had Noah from NBC5 on, who traveled to Canada for Saturday's win against McGill. And I got some takeaways. I got some immediate reaction to what Noah had to say. Number one, Dylan Penn is the real deal. We kind of knew that he would be. This isn't groundbreaking analysis from Noah or me, frankly. We kind of knew that Dylan Penn was good. He truly is the real deal. Noah says he's the best player on this team. Lucas Hardkins, who wrote the article about him for Heat Check College Basketball a couple of weeks ago, who we spoke to, he said he might be the best player on this team. So now we're hearing about Dylan Penn from multiple people. He led the way with 19 points in game 1 of this whole excursion, gets to the bucket, rebounds, passes, plays with tenacity. You hope the tailbone injury isn't serious here as we get towards real practice in about 2 months or so. But Dylan Penn is the real deal. And if UVM is going to hit its ceiling this year, they're going to need it. If Dylan Penn, look, it's August 15th. I'm just going to say this flat out now. If Dylan Penn is as advertised, this team is the America East favorite again. If Dylan Penn is less than what he's supposed to be, this team is not the favorite and Brian is. Dylan Penn is the difference maker. You don't lose the player of the year and the guy who could have and should have been the player of the year and lose 4 total starters. Teams don't lose that in leagues like the America East and get better. That does not happen. If Dylan Penn is here and he's as good as we are hearing, then UVM can somehow do the unthinkable and be right on the same level they were a year ago. If he's less than that, then this team is looking up at Bryant in the standings at the end of the year. So Dylan Penn, I believe, to be the real deal, but they're going to need him to be the real deal. Takeaway number 2, Noah says that Robin Duncan is likely to be a bench player once the regular season starts. And that's fine. I think Robin Duncan would be a fine 6th man. But I really am interested to see how the starting lineup and how the overall rotations play out for this team. This team is guard heavy. Make no mistake about it. This team is guard heavy. You've got Aaron Deloney, 6th man of the year in the league. He needs to play. Cam Gibson, 5th-year senior. Finn Sullivan, 5th-year senior. They need to play. Robin Duncan, 5th-year senior. Dylan Penn, 5th-year senior. You've got a lot of older veteran guards that can play and need to have time on the floor. Then you mention all the young guys. TJ Hurley, who we spoke about. You've got, Sam Alamutu, Michelle Ndiaye-Shimier. You've got other newcomers. There's a lot of guards on this roster. I want to know how this shakes out. Dylan Penn is a starter. Finn Sullivan is a starter. Then who? Then what happens? Do you go small and Aaron Deloney starts also in that trio? And in that case, who handles the ball? Is Deloney a true point guard? Is Penn the true point guard? Someone told me they thought Finn Sullivan might be the guy who handles the ball the most. I don't know. These are all questions that John Becker and his staff are going to have to answer as we move through the course of preseason and then the non-conference portion of the schedule. Does Deloney, Finn Sullivan, and Dylan Penn, that's 3 guards there in the starting lineup. Fiorillo is probably the 4th starter, and then the 5th one, I have no idea who it will be. Who handles the ball most? Fascinating questions that need to get answered. Number 3 on the takeaways from this weekend in my talk with Noah Searson. TJ Hurley is a name that we should know. I think Perry Smith Jr., who's a big man, who's 6'9", I'm hearing a lot about him also in this kind of summer session. Heard him get some good buzz as a post player. But TJ Hurley, that is the guy's name that you need to know as a first-year player. It's hard at UVM because the teams are so good and so veteran. It's hard to make an impact as a true freshman or as a first-year guy. We saw it, though, with Trey Bell Haynes. We saw it with Anthony Lamb. We've seen it with Steph Smith to a degree. I mean, 5 threes in the fourth quarter. I don't care if this was an exhibition game or not. This is your first taste of college basketball if you're TJ Hurley. You're playing against guys much bigger than you, much older than you, much stronger than you, and you come out and you put up 15 in the fourth quarter. Show some pretty good mental toughness, some pretty good fortitude there. He had 17 for the game, 15 in the fourth quarter. Clearly, he started slow, and he found a way to get through it and break down the wall. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, again, it's hard to make an impact as a freshman. Deloney didn't do it. Benny didn't do it. Steph Smith did it, but he wasn't a starter. UVM, if you're looking for one freshman's name to know, I think TJ Hurley is the guy. Number 4 on things that I'm wondering about. I will be interested to see who emerges as the leader of this team. UVM's losing a bunch of guys. They're losing 4 starters. I wonder who steps up and runs with the leadership position. You got guys that have been here, like Robin Duncan, like Aaron Deloney, guys that have been here, guys that have done it, guys that have won. Maybe they step up as the leader. Finn Sullivan sounds like he's going to be a starter and an indispensable part of this roster. Maybe he is the ball handler, like that person told me, and he becomes the leader. Maybe it is Dylan Penn who's got it in him. I don't know who it's going to be. I'll be fascinated who the players gravitate towards. I'll be fascinated which player takes it and runs with it. And I'll be fascinated to see if there's any infighting for the leadership role. And I don't mean bad fighting, but you get players that, hey, they're told, hey, we need to step up. Yeah, you need to step up. You need to step up. Well, you get 4 players trying to step up. There can be a bit of a power struggle trying to figure it all out. I'm curious how this shakes out for UVM. And finally, I disagree with Noah on one thing. I think we do have that audio. I think we do have a little bit of Noah's audio already cut up. Let's see if we have it in our system here. I asked him kind of what his overall takeaway is. Yeah, we do have it. Here you go.
I think the first thing I noticed is that this is a very talented squad, and I think you're also going to see some guys from past years take big leaps up. I look at a guy like Aaron Deloney. He really impressed me, just not only on the court, but as a leader on the team. Coach Becker already has them, kind of running in a cohesive unit, but it might be a little slower out of the gates than maybe Catamount fans are used to in the past.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think UVM's going to hit the ground running. They may not win the big non-conference games that we want them to. They may not. But they don't typically win the big non-conference games. I think they will have a business-like approach. I think there's so many veteran pieces on this team. I think they're going to come out strong. I think they're going to win the games they're supposed to win. And I just think they got enough guys who have the same goal. I think that they're going to be able to figure this thing out early. I don't know that they're going to... I don't know how good Brian is. UVM, I think, finishes 1 or 2 in this conference. I think they're going to be playing good basketball almost right from the jump. They need to figure out the post player situation. They need to make sure they're shooting it well from 3, and they need to figure out the rotations and who the primary ball handler is. There are questions there. But I think UVM is going to be pretty good. And I'm excited by Dylan Penn. I saw Robin Duncan hit a 3 the other day. And the highlights there, he hit 3 on Sunday against Quebec Montreal. I think that there's some good stuff. Let's see here. Somebody actually found us an actual box score from the Saturday game against McGill. 17 from Hurley, that led the way. 12 from Aaron Deloney. 10 from Dylan Penn, then he got hurt. 8 from Robin Duncan. 7 from Cam Gibson. And a bunch of guys with 5 and a bunch of guys with 2. So, there you go. UVM hit 11 threes in that game. They committed 13 turnovers, also had 13 assists. You like to be better than 1-1, but hey, these games don't count for anything. So there you go. Kudos to the listener who found us some stats from at least one of the games. And thanks again to Noah for stopping by today. I want to get back to the Red Sox. Virginia in Starksboro was laughing at me when I suggested 10 years, $265 million for Rafael Devers. I'm going to tell you why that's not laughable and why there's zero excuse. Zero, zip, zilch, none. No excuse. The Red Sox should not sign Devers long term. That's next on DEV.
Looking for some weekend plans? Look no further than the Waterbury Flea Market. This is Vermont's largest and longest running outdoor flea market, open every Saturday and Sunday from sunrise to sunset through early October at Forest Field on Route 2. So many great vendors with a wide mix including antiques, sporting equipment, collectibles, arts and crafts, ephemera, oddities, and so much more. Whether you're on the hunt for something in particular or just want to browse, the Waterbury Flea Market is a fun place to spend a day. Learn more about this and other shopping in Waterbury at discoverwaterbury.com. Discover all there is to see and do in Waterbury. Want to know how to save on gas? Get your car checked out by Al Karen and the team at Waterbury Service Center. Cars that are well maintained get better gas mileage, so take your vehicle in for a tune-up to ensure that you're getting maximum fuel efficiency on all your summer adventures. Schedule an appointment now to take care of your annual inspection, get an oil change, and make sure your car is ready for all the road trips, vacations, drives to the mountains, and more. Waterbury Service Center is a full-service auto mechanic conveniently located in downtown Waterbury. Call 802-244-7202 to make an appointment.
Up your grilling game with WDEV and Mackenzie Country Classics. Every Friday afternoon this summer, we're giving away the ultimate grilling package from Mackenzie Country Classics. Tune into the getaway each Friday between 1 and 4 and be the fifth caller when you hear the Mackenzie Country Classics theme song.
Old John Mackenzie was a dedicated man, made the best pork sausage in all the land. John told his boys, both clear and loud, carry on the name and do me proud.
The ultimate grilling package includes one package each of natural casing franks, grilling kielbasa, sweet Italian sausage, switch brats, thick cut bacon, all beef deli franks, and alfresco chicken sausage. So be listening for the Mackenzie theme song.
Old John Mackenzie was a dedicated man, made the best pork sausage in all the land. John told his boys, both clear and loud, carry on the name and do me proud.
Call in Friday afternoons during the getaway to win the ultimate grilling package from Mackenzie Country Classics and WTEV.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Vermont Army National Guard. Aired by the Vermont Association of Broadcasters and this station.
For a small state, Vermont has a lot going on. Join me, Rick Singari, for Vermont Viewpoint. I'll speak with members of the arts community, entrepreneurs, elected officials, and authors. Anyone and everyone who's doing something interesting or noteworthy in the Green Mountains. That includes you. Your comments are always welcome. Vermont Viewpoint, weekdays from 9 to 11 on WDEV, AM and FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Reminder that you can download the full show podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and all of our exclusive interviews are there as well. You can also support our sponsors, Pro Driver CDL. That's Pro Driver CDL, Vermont's premier truck driver training school. Let's talk about the Red Sox. Let's talk about Rafael Devers here before we leave for the day. There is zero reason, for the Red Sox to not sign Devers to a big contract extension. We started off the show talking about Buster Olney of ESPN. I want to end it here the same way. Austin Riley of the Braves. Remember, Red Sox just saw the Braves last week. Austin Riley of the Braves, who is 25 years old, just like Devers is. He just signed a 10-year, $212 million extension. I asked Buster last week if that was a fair comparison for Devers or if that was too light. Here's what Buster said last week.
I still think it's low because of the fact that Austin Riley, they're not in the same range in terms of their, trajectory toward getting to free agency. And I think Devers is, in some respects, he might not hit for as much power. He's probably considered to be a better pure hitter, average hitter. Riley's probably considered to be a better defender. I think that it does give you some idea that, look, the general consensus within the industry is that the Braves got Austin Riley on the cheap.
Okay. So that's fair, right? Buster says he thinks that the industry thinks the Braves got Austin Riley on the cheap. That's fine. He thinks that Devers is worth a little bit more. That's also fine. But I got to tell you, even if you add on numbers because Devers is better, the number is going to be far more reasonable than I ever thought. And with that being the case, there is no excuse for John Henry, Sam Kennedy, Chaim Bloom. There's no excuse to not get a deal done. Let's just play this game. Austin Riley gets 10 years, $212 million. That's 10 years at $21 million a year. Realistically, how much more worth is Devers than Riley? I mean, look, Austin Riley's 25. Rafael Devers is currently 25. Rafael Devers, if he truly hits free agency, is going to do so at 27. He's going to be older. The Braves are getting more of Riley's prime than whoever signs Devers will be getting. So let's not act here like Devers is going to completely blitz Riley's deal by more than $200 million. That's not going to happen. So if Riley gets 10 for $212, let's play it out. What does Devers get? Devers is better. Does he get 10 years and $25 million a year? So now it's 10 for $250. I would do that deal in a heartbeat. In today's market, that's a steal also. That's the same deal that A-Rod got from the Rangers 20 years ago. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would never look back. Let's just say Rafael Devers is that much better than Austin Riley. He gets 10 years and $28 million a year. $7 million more a year than Austin Riley. 25% more annually. That would be 10 for $280 for Devers. I also would do that in a heartbeat. I mean, does Devers need more years? Does he get 12 years and $25 million a year? That would be $300 million total for 12 years. I would do that too. If the deal for Rafael Devers starts with a 2 in front of it, I'm all in. Austin Riley gets 212. Devers gets 212, done. Devers wants 240, done. Devers wants 260, done. Devers wants 299, done. If the deal starts with a 2, I'm all in. If the deal starts with a 3, but is reasonable, I'm all in on that too. You can't tell me that Rafael Devers is really going to get more than $100 million more than Austin Riley. Austin Riley is younger. Austin Riley has also won a World Series. Austin Riley is also a homegrown player. Austin Riley has the same advantages that Devers has in being a champion and a homegrown player. And he's also younger, and the Braves are now getting more of his prime. Is Devers really going to get $100 million plus more than Riley? I don't think so. So therefore, to me, there's no reason to not get a deal done. Zero. Because it's going to be far more affordable than I thought. I really thought for a long time that Rafael Devers was going to want Juan Soto money. Juan Soto turned down 15 years for $440 million. I thought that Rafael Devers was going to want in that ballpark. If Austin Riley gets 212, and even if that's light, and even if Devers is better, is he $180 million better? No. So if Riley can get 212, Devers can get 280, 295, 306, whatever, and I will pay it. Because it's going to be far more affordable than I thought. If the Rangers can pay Corey Seager $340 and go pay Marcus Semien $175, then the Boston Red Sox can pay Rafael Devers $250, $280, $299, $305, whatever. He's not $100 million better than Austin Riley. He's just not. Devers might be better. He ain't $180 million better. I thought that this deal was going to start with a 4. It is not. It is not. Dean over in South Burlington says for Devers, a fair contract is 10 years, $300 to $350 million. 10 for $350, that feels high. If it was 12 for $320, I'd feel better about it, right? I mean, 10 for $350, $35 million a year for a guy who's going to hit free agency at 27, be 37 when the deal is done, and we're not sure if he can stick at third base. That feels high. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I'm just saying that feels too high. That feels like it would be an overpay. I don't think he's $130 million better than Austin Riley. I just don't. Homegrown player, both champions, both homegrown. Riley plays better defense, hits for a lot of power. Devers is a better contact hitter, has a good on-base percentage, draws a bunch of walks. I mean, we're talking about far more comparable players here than we are talking about guys that are $180 million apart. I don't see it. So, fine. Devers won't accept the Riley deal. Okay. Will he accept 40, 60, 80 million more? That should get you in the room to get a deal done. There is no excuse to not get a deal done as far as I'm concerned. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. That is going to do it for us today. Thank you to Noah Searson from NBC5 News. Thank you to all of you for hopping in on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line. And thank you to the Green Mountain Baseball League for giving me the Pitcher of the Week award. Tip of my cap to you for a great season. And go download the podcast. Go download Noah's interview. You can do so by searching for the Brady Farkas Show on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So appreciate all of you, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Short shows the rest of the week, 30 minutes, as we'll be off the air at 6 o'clock each of the next 3 days before Red Sox and Pirates. So Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next, but I believe Lee Cattell is milling around here, and I think he is going to take it over. So we'll see. Lee or George coming up next right here on WDEV AM and FM.
Your pets give so much.